Can you believe it? It's already 2026. So what are you planning for 2026? Is your goal to get ripped abs, advance in your career, or upgrade your hairstyle? Here are 10 of my favorite money lessons for a wealthier 2026. Lesson number 1 for a wealthier 2026. No one cares what you drive. In fact, let's push that further. No one really cares what you drive, what you wear, or where you live. The truth is, we're all so focused on ourselves that other people simply don't think about us as much as we imagine. One of my favorite financial writers, Morgan Housel, explains this perfectly in his book, The Psychology of Money. When you see someone in a nice car, you rarely think, that person is so cool. What you actually think is, if I had that car, people would think I'm so cool. That's the cruel irony. We spend money on things to impress others, but those others aren't impressed by us. They're busy imagining themselves with our stuff. This is why chasing status with material things is a losing game. You're using real money, money that could be growing, compounding, and building real wealth, to buy admiration that doesn't really exist. The car loses value, the clothes go out of style, the house needs constant maintenance, but the money you don't spend, the money that stays invested and keeps working in the background, that's what actually builds your future. So in 2026, before you make a big purchase, ask yourself, am I buying this for me or for an audience that isn't even paying attention? Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to end up with less. Lesson number 2, for a wealthier 2026, the rich don't look rich. Growing up in an immigrant family without much money, I used to think wealthy people were easy to identify. On TV, they were everywhere. Designer clothes, luxury cars, huge mansions. If they weren't rich, how could they afford all that? But as I got older and started to understand real wealth after many mistakes, I realized how wrong that image was. Truly wealthy people often don't look wealthy at all. Most of the time, they look very ordinary. Dave Ramsey summed it up well. The typical millionaire lives in a middle-class home, drives a 2-year-old or older paid-off car, and buys blue jeans at Walmart. There's solid evidence behind this. Dr. Thomas Stanley's 1996 book, The Millionaire Next Door, was based on surveys of thousands of real millionaires in America. Unlike the flashy picture painted by the media, expensive clothing, fancy watches, and status symbols, most actual millionaires looked very different. Many did earn high incomes from careers or businesses. But what really made them millionaires was their frugality. They consistently lived well below their means, wore inexpensive clothes and suits, and usually drove used cars instead of the newest model. They understand something crucial. Looking rich and being rich are two different things, and often they're complete opposites. Every dollar spent to appear wealthy is a dollar that isn't making you wealthy. So in 2026, stop trying to look rich. Focus instead on becoming rich by being frugal and living below your means. Lesson number 3 for a wealthier 2026. Your circle is your ceiling. Jim Rohn famously said, "We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with." Whether we like it or not, the people around us have a huge impact on how we think and behave. If you're constantly surrounded by people who are broke, stressed about money, and making poor financial choices, that will naturally rub off on you. That's simply how influence works. So if you want to raise your financial game, you need to examine your social circle carefully, because that circle sets your ceiling. If you want to elevate your life and your money, you need to upgrade your network. That doesn't mean abandoning your current friends. It simply means stretching beyond your usual circles so that the average of your 5 improves. Surround yourself with people who take their finances seriously, who think long-term, who talk about goals rather than just distractions. That alone can shift your trajectory. Lesson number 4 for a wealthier 2026, marry for money. You might be thinking, did I hear that right? Before you judge the phrase, listen to the idea behind it. Dr. Thomas Stanley's research found a clear connection between marriage and wealth. His conclusion: it is very difficult for a married couple to build wealth if one partner is a spendthrift. A household that is divided in its financial approach is unlikely to accumulate significant wealth. Make sure you're on the same page about money. It may not be the most romantic topic on a date, but it's crucial if you want a stable financial future together. Lesson number 5 for a wealthier 2026. Understand that cash is king. Don't look at a pile of cash as a wasted opportunity or money doing nothing. Many financially savvy people feel pressure to have every dollar working at maximum speed, always chasing the highest possible return. I don't think that's a wise way to approach money. Cash offers far more value than we often acknowledge. Cash gives you options, peace of mind, and the ability to sleep at night because it keeps you from being forced into bad decisions. During the 2008 financial crisis, a lack of cash pushed major companies into disaster. Lehman Brothers, a 158-year-old investment bank, was forced to file for bankruptcy, the largest in American history. Merrill Lynch had to be rescued in a last-minute deal by Bank of America to avoid collapse. General Motors and Chrysler, 2 of the big 3 American automakers, needed massive government bailouts just to survive. Meanwhile, Warren Buffett had prepared for crises like this. He held cash, and when others were cornered into desperate moves, he was able to step in from a position of strength. He invested $5 billion into Goldman Sachs in highly favorable terms, put $3 billion into General Electric, and picked up shares of companies at prices that would have seemed impossible just months before. Cash for a business is like oxygen for a person. You barely think about it when it's there, But when it's gone, it becomes the only thing that matters. In 2026, recognize that cash truly is king and keep a healthy reserve. Lesson number 6 for a wealthier 2026. Keep investing boring. The media loves to portray investing as exciting, fast-moving, and high stakes. Every year, there's a new hot idea. Meme stocks, AI picks pushed by influencers, whatever is trending at the moment. But in reality, the most effective investing is boring. Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Samuelson put it well, investing should be like watching paint dry or grass grow. If you want excitement, take $800 and go to Las Vegas. The investors who quietly build lasting wealth are not the ones chasing the latest tip. They are the ones buying broad, low-cost index funds like VTSAX or VTI, contributing regularly, and then doing absolutely nothing for decades. No stock picking, no market timing, no drama, just patience. Here's what that kind of boring can do. If you had put $100,000 into a low-cost index fund tracking the US stock market 30 years ago and reinvested the dividends, it could be worth around $1.5 million today. That's about 15 times your money simply by staying invested and letting time and compounding work. When it comes to investing, boring beats exciting every time. Lesson number 7 for a wealthier 2026 and keep investing simple. Jack Bogle, founder of Vanguard and father of index funds, said, "When there are multiple solutions to a problem, choose the simplest one. The financial industry wants you to feel overwhelmed. It throws around jargon like alpha, beta, dividends, and capital gains, and if you don't understand, it can make you feel out of your depth. But it feels complicated largely because the industry has a vested interest in making it sound that way. That complexity often pushes people into paralysis. Either they never start investing, or they hand everything over to so-called experts and hope for the best, which can be harmful to long-term wealth. The truth, investing doesn't have to be complex. You don't need to master every term to benefit from broad market exposure and compounding. When I started, I was overwhelmed by all the information, afraid of making a single mistake and losing my savings. What finally helped was taking small steps. I began with one simple index fund that tracked the total market. Over time, I gained confidence, and I realized something important. Building an effective portfolio doesn't require rocket science. With just 1, 2, or 3 basic funds, and maybe 30 minutes of attention a year, almost anyone can be a genuine investor. So in 2026, don't let complexity hold you back. Choose a simple plan, automate it, and begin. Lesson number 8 for a wealthier 2026, keep investing long. A boring strategy and a simple structure are crucial, but they aren't enough if you want real wealth. You also need time, a lot of it. Effective investing is fundamentally long-term. Warren Buffett once said, "Our favorite holding period is forever." He doesn't invest in index funds. He picks individual companies because he knows how to value them. But once he buys, he often holds for decades. Coca-Cola for nearly 40 years, American Express for more than 30, Costco for 20 years before selling. He understands that true wealth is built over time, which is why 99% of his current wealth was accumulated after his 50th birthday. Yes, he's a great stock picker, but his real advantage is his time horizon. He treats investing as a lifelong endeavor, not a quick scheme. That's the power of compounding. In the early years, progress feels slow, even painfully slow. You contribute, reinvest, and the numbers barely seem to move. But given enough time, 10, 15, 20 years, the growth starts to accelerate and then explode, as it did for Buffett. So let's learn from that example. In 2026, commit to thinking in decades, not days. The stock market is a mechanism that transfers money from the impatient to the patient. Lesson number 9 for a wealthier 2026, spend extravagantly. This may sound strange, especially when so much advice focuses on cutting expenses and saving more, but the goal of building wealth is not to hoard money. It's to live a life you truly enjoy. Ramit Sethi, author of I Will Teach You to Be Rich, puts it this way: spend extravagantly on the things you love and cut costs mercilessly on the things you don't. I like this mindset because it shifts us from mindless cutting to intentional prioritization. For my spouse and me, in this stage of life, our priority is travel and shared experiences as a family. While our kids are young and still want to be with us, we want to create memories we'll talk about for decades. So even though it hurt financially, we chose over the past year to invest in a world travel experience that took us around Europe and to parts of Asia we didn't even know about before. That was our extravagance. To make it possible, we slashed nearly everything else. No new car, no home upgrades, almost no new physical possessions, and practically speaking, we couldn't carry much anyway. What surprised me afterward was that we didn't miss any of the things we cut. That's the strength of this approach. You're not saying no to everything. You're saying a big yes to what really matters and a firm no to the rest. So in 2026, figure out what extravagant means for you. What will bring genuine joy? What will you look back on in 20 years and be glad you spent money on? Direct your money there and cut ruthlessly everywhere else. Lesson number 10, the final money lesson for a wealthier 2026, money buys freedom. For me, this is the most important lesson of all. Money can pay for lots of things, nice trips, fun toys, special experiences, but above everything else, I believe the greatest thing money can buy is freedom. Morgan Housel described it perfectly. The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up each morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. That's what all of this is really about. The frugality, the investing, the patience, they're not about chasing a big number for its own sake. They're about buying back your time and your choices. So as you move through 2026, remember what you're truly working toward. It's not just the fancy car, the luxury items, or the big house. It's the freedom to live life on your own terms.